Do you consider yourself to be a skillful tactician who calculates well and still regularly fail to put away games due to a missed tactical chance? Are you someone who regularly practices tactics puzzles? It's part of your regime of training where daily, weekly, you solve X number of puzzles, and still, when you play your games, there are those annoying missing opportunities and somehow you just can't put the 2 and 2 together. Why is that? That I'm missing these tactics when I'm practicing so much. I'm going through my puzzle books and all of them are successfully solved, and yet here I am and I miss the tactical chances in my games. If you are one of these people, I highly recommend you to watch this video because I might have the solution for you. But first, let's have a look at what the actual diagnosis is. In order to do this, I'm going to present to you first 2 puzzles, drastically different in the way how they work, yet quite similar, and then we are going to take it from there. So, let's get started. My first position for you is a random Lichess puzzle. I just pulled it off of Lichess. It's a mate in 3. Nothing out of the ordinary, and in fact I would like to encourage you to solve it. So if you want to work with me through this video, pause the video now, solve the puzzle, move on. The solution is fairly simple. Black has got a huge piece domination. Every single black piece is pointing to the white king, so it's only logical that we have got a tactical finish. Rook takes h3, g takes back, queen takes check, and when I take on h3, the king goes to g1, we have mate on h1, or if the rook blocks, we take the rook. So either way, it's mate in 2, king there, queen h1, and this is a checkmate. Once again, this was a mate in 3, not a particularly difficult one. We needed to do what we always need to do, checks, captures and threats, and if you followed the solution closely, you notice that every single move was a check, and some of them even captures as well. Now, let's have a look at my second example. This position is a white move and win. And if I give this puzzle to all of you who solved the first one, and in particular many of my students, you would find that a lot of them would fail to come up with the correct solution. Their train of thoughts would be, oh, queen takes b7 looks so promising, it's a check, they take, we have a double check. And they pursue this line, and then after king a8, all of a sudden it turns out that it doesn't work. And then we go like, oh, okay, let's change the move order. A trick everyone should use, by the way, all the time in solving puzzles. Knight d6 check, pawn takes bugger. The queen defends the bishop. Doesn't work. And a lot of players at this point get stuck. And they start recycling these ideas, trying to look again for queen b7, doesn't work, knight d6 doesn't work, yada yada yada. And they just fail to come up with the solution. Which, by the way, technically is shorter than the previous puzzle and therefore could be claimed to be easier. The stunning move is queen a8 check, as per played in this position by the fantastic and rightfully popular chess presenter and chessable extraordinaire Simon Williams. One of his most amazing moves, in fact. Queen a8 check, bishop takes a8, and knight a7 checkmate. Of course, there is a side variation here with king d7, but after queen takes b7, white wins easily. So, why is it so difficult for us to find this move, but solve the previous one without any dramas? My theory on this one is that a lot of people, especially lower level, club level players, adult improvers, and it's important here to stress that it's mostly adults who, by the way, have this issue. They're extremely reluctant to give up material on empty squares. What that means is that we are well and truly sacrificing without getting anything back in return. Somehow most chess players feel a lot more comfortable when they sacrifice. They either take something when the sacrifice happens, or in the next move the follow-up is a recapture. It's a psychological factor, or that's what I believe it is, and it just doesn't work that well when we just gave it away like take it. And so most people would even look at that check, recognize that we have a queen a8 check, and then brush it off like, oh, no, I can't do that, it's hanging. And so they are literally not solving a mate in 2 when they already see the first move. Quite crazy, right? But this does happen all the time. And I'm going to present here my theory, what it lies behind this. And I think the best way to model the theory is that I tend to split chess players in 2 groups as far as this puzzle and the following puzzles are concerned. And I tend to call the first group the non-believers. Because in my opinion, the fact that, or rather the reason why you can or can't find a move like this is not chess skill. Because if you do what you are meant to do to solve a puzzle, checks, captures and threats, then you do look at this move because it's a check. But you have a mental block that prevents you to look further because, that just hangs the queen for free. It's silly. Let's move on. And so your mental block is actually preventing you from doing it. Chess skills wise, of course you have it covered because you can see that bishop takes is met by mate. But if that mental block stops you right there, and this allows you to continue the same way how, by the way, you don't continue after queen b8 either, because that's nonsense too. But you should still take a cursory glance to see what happens and give you that extra second. And this especially applies, and this is the other problem, by the way, when you have a position where you have got a lot of signs that tells you that there should be a forced win here, but there is no one to give you a gentle pat on the shoulder and go like, oi, by the way, you have a forced win here. And so you tend to not believe after you calculated a few likely candidates and they fail. On the other hand, the other side of this group are the believers. And I like to call them this because, again, this is more of an approach to the game, much rather than a skill. And the believers think like this. They also go through the candidates I showed you, and then they look at queen a8 and they go like, oh man, that would be so awesome. And that's the mentality. Instead of you being the Debbie Downer going like, oh, it hangs the queen. No, I can't wait to hang my queen and deliver a mate. And so I do look, just 10 seconds more, no more, 10 seconds. What happens if wait a tickerino, that's mate. And ta-da, I solved the problem. Is it chess skill? I don't think so. What I do think is that it's a mentality. It's that I want to believe in the crazy. Not only because very often it's the right thing to do, but also because if it works, boy oh boy, I scored the checkmate of my life. So now let me show you a couple of examples of this believer theory, and you will very quickly, hopefully, be on board with me on this whole concept. You look at this position and you go like, oh boy, white should be winning here like mad. Beautiful development, everybody is ready to strike, the black king is really fishy. There needs to be something. So we look at first checks, and we realize very quickly that all of these checks can easily be blocked by the pawn. So let's say bishop a3 check, d6, and we don't really have an awful lot. The captures seem to be crazy. Queen takes, king takes, we have nothing. Bishop takes, rook takes, nothing. And then we look at attacks. Rook g1, queen h3 escapes. And then there is a solid chance that we actually walk past the opportunity of a lifetime. However, if you are a true believer, then you cannot possibly afford walking past this move. And again, I can hear you going like, there is no way I would have thought about that, to which my comeback is, why not? It's a mate in one threat. It's not like I pulled out a crazy move out of the hat, because then of course we would be dealing with millions of candidate moves. But I didn't tell you to look at queen b6, which is utterly ridiculous, not because it hangs the queen, nay, because it does nothing. And that's very important that you understand the difference. Queen e6, my friends, is a mate in one threat. Checks, captures, threats. It's part of the shenanigans that you're meant to do every time you solve a puzzle. Just like I went through the checks and the attacks here and the captures, this move must be part of your operation. And again, some would look at it and brush it off, like, oh, hangs the queen, can't do that. I wish I could. Believers, on the other hand, will go like, oh man, Hang on a tick, queen e6. Imagine if that worked. Oh, d takes e6, bishop a3 mate. It does work. And tada, you are done. Now, don't get me wrong. This concept is not going to work every single time. On the contrary, in the vast majority of cases, it's going to not work. But there are cases when it does. And I don't think that the 10 seconds that you spent on deciding whether this is actually real or not is such a big investment, considering that you could miss out again on the move and the chess game of your life. This is your immortal game, casually letting go because we just don't look at queen e6 because it just hangs the queen. No, you need to believe, you need to want to do this. This is what I sometimes refer to in chess, a little bit of an arrogance where you really want to prove that the impossible is possible. And you just look at it, just to prove them wrong. And tada, there you go. After queen e6, the only move that black has is d6 to, no, sorry, g6. I think is the only move to avoid the immediate disaster. That's right. And then after bishop a3 check, d6, queen c8, white easily wins. So yeah, that's that. But essentially queen e6 just finishes the puzzle right away. Next. This one is a great example because this is two back-to-back sacrifices. It's quite deep. I'm not going to explore all the variations because I want to get to the point. In this position, black to move, obviously we are hardcore focused on the f3 knight because if we manage to eliminate this piece, it's mate here. It's that simple. And so the correct move here is f4. And now I'm going to spare you, with your permission, about how to win with knight against knight f4. You can analyze it yourself. I want to show you the main concept. gf4, and a lot of people would here go like, ah, bugger, I just can't get to that f3 knight. But if you are a believer, you're going to look at this. Because although this is not a check, this is not a capture, but it's a forced mate threat. I'm threatening knight takes f3 check, pawn takes queen h2 mate. And yes, I'm hanging the knight on g5 on an empty square by 2 pieces in fact, but neither can capture because knight takes is met by mate, pawn takes is met by rook takes f3, queen h2, and the game is over. That's it. And last but not least, a really challenging idea, but once again, you will find it ridiculously beautiful. And once you see the idea, you will go like, oh yeah, I could have done that. So, white to move and win. I gave this to some of my better students and many struggled with this, even though every single one of them found the first move correctly. And the reason for that again is because if you follow our mantra, checks, captures and threats, you very quickly eliminate all the plonker moves, like none of those checks and captures work, and you look at the attacks. And our favorite again is the mate in one threat. And so a lot of people spot knight f6 even though it's hanging. And after gf6 they look at rook h4 with the idea of taking on h6, but it just doesn't seem to work and they give up. Whereas there is a beauty here, and that is put your knight on prey and put your rook on prey as well. And again, a ridiculously powerful move threatening mate in one. And black doesn't have bishop moves available because then it's mate in one on g7. And so the capture is forced, but that opens up the diagonal and tada, it's mate. And again, I'm hearing you. You can tell me that this is difficult and I'm not going to argue. But what I am saying is that this is within our everyday practice of checks, captures and threats. And so all you need to believe, all you need to do, that was an awesome slip, is to believe. You need to look at the crazies so that you can convince yourself whether they work or not. So I really hope that you found these puzzles and the concepts useful. All I am asking you to do is that when you are looking at your candidate moves, and my favorite example by far, of course, is this one. So all I am asking you to do is to consider the checks, the captures and the threats and look at all of them no matter how crazy. Just give them that extra 5 seconds because that will allow you to actually discover beautiful wins or to establish that they don't work. 5 seconds. Just put yourself in the believer group and see how you go. And also, instead of trying to exclude moves like this from your calculation on the grounds of hanging, make that a priority. Oh, that's hanging. Awesome. Let me try that. Because if that works, I am going to score my immortal game that I can then show to the rest of the world, to my children, my grandchildren, whoever, as the greatest chess game I have ever played. And that's actually my mentality. I always try to look for the outrageous, the extraordinary, because what are we playing chess for if it's not that beautiful win, that beautiful combination? It doesn't even have to be a win. So make yourself a believer. Look for the crazy, test it out. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, it's fine too, but at least you gave it a red hot go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that it was also rather valuable for your own games. I look forward to hearing from you. Please don't forget to press the like button as well as the subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye.